Take a Look at the Stars, written by I.S Harmening. I was a long-haul trucker for 20 years. I saw all manner of strange and uncomfortable things along the road in those years. Animals that were so ravaged by mange that they looked like aliens limping just beside the wood line, and all manner of people walking the highways that looked in some way like those animals. I saw accidents that could have been avoided and ones that could not. I saw people having sex in their cars while they were driving, road rage that became homicides, apparent kidnappings, shadows on the road that were sleep-deprived hallucinations, and billboards for churches so extreme they seemed medieval. I remember one. It said in plain black text on a whiteboard, "Beneath this sky, the eyes of God are watching you." So simple. And I remember one night. My truck rattled beneath me, tens of thousands of pounds of weight blazing forward on long stretches of empty road. I didn't always appreciate the sheer energy, force, and power of the truck, and neither did the drivers of little tin can Prius and Civics that like to play chicken with a tiger, swerving in and out of lanes and missing me and other truckers by mere feet. On these long rides, I'd have an audiobook playing, or a podcast, and even in my boredom, I would turn on whatever AM radio station I could find and listen out for the local character. It was always a preacher, a shock jock, or calm classical music, and if I ever found myself paying too close attention to the clinking of empty energy drink cans rolling back and forth on the passenger side floor, I would roll down both windows, no matter the weather, and blast heavy metal music as loud I could to keep me from slipping away. I was driving a haul through the almost empty roads of deep Maine that November evening. The road had been packed in a steady line all day, but slowly it thinned as vehicles pulled off on the side of the road, idling. The sun was dipping below the tree line, and the reds and oranges of the sunset between the trees looked like a brilliant fire burning in the distance. Each long shadow cast by the trees rolled over me like a steady metronome. Tick, tock. I passed a car on their right, glaring at them as I did. Two people, a man and a woman who looked like she'd just been woken up. The man pointed to the side of the road, and I watched them pull off in my rear view. Full steam ahead. I'll never know why people stay in the fast lane if they are going to go slow. Many people don't realize how dangerous it is to pass a vehicle on the right. You spend long stretches of time invisible to the driver as you slowly overtake them. I hate doing it, but I have places to be, and if your dumbass wants to sit in the fast lane, then it isn't my life that you're taking in your hands. The radio was tuned to a scratchy recording of a woman singing low and long melancholy notes. I couldn't understand anything, like dream speech. I could tell she was singing words, yet I could only understand her emotion no matter how hard I concentrated. The hours of sunset and sunrise always made me sleepy. Low light was disaffecting to me, and the only thing keeping me awake was the dull pinch from my sciatic nerve. Every truck driver is running on too little sleep. That is why there are those grooves on the shoulder. It is our alarm clock, a warning that we are veering into dangerous territory. The next time you pass a rest stop, count how many trucks are parked there. They are all sleeping or trying to sleep. An hour here, an hour there, trying to keep pace on the long road without killing anyone. Sure, we have to take minimum 10-hour breaks, but when you're paid by the mile, there is room to fudge those numbers, to drive longer than you're supposed to write off rest you never took. We've all had close calls that are our faults. We have all drifted between lanes at least once. It is human nature to push the limits. The sky was a dome overhead, a fishbowl quickly turning to blue hour. The shadows of passing trees began to melt into the growing dark. They were fingers reaching up to heaven, black silhouettes of eyelashes. I powered over a bridge, and on a pull-off was a little car that seemed to pop out from the shadows as a vibrant red. Outside of the car was a woman in a white wool sweater looking up at the sky, and a little girl in a yellow dandelion dress and a big, puffy red jacket. The girl turned to me and raised her little hand in a wave, but as I passed, her arm was outstretched, grasping for me, as if willing me to stop. I looked in the side view, but they were swallowed up by the darkness, as if they were never there. I remember thinking she looked like the ketchup and mustard tubes you'd find at a diner. The radio crackled. The song ended. "I hope the road ain't too quiet tonight," the DJ soothed me. It always was too quiet. The road was bumpy, like a constant beat. Vrr. Vrr. If you have a chance, take a good look at the sky tonight. The stars are sure to dazzle you. Quiet. How far was I going that night? Across all of Maine and beyond? Bangor to Montreal? Where had I even started? All of America started to blend together. Deserts, forests, mountains. The people were the same. Self-absorbed, sad, petty, and often meaningless. I remember wanting to settle down and be self-absorbed. I was tired of freight. I was the tireless supplier, the giver, but there was never anything for me. I hunted down these hours. I played coy with them. I had money, and I had an empty house. I lit a cigarette. The lighter set aglow in the cabin as night descended. I switched to the left lane and yawned. Maybe the stars were nice tonight, but the sky felt too far away. No matter how far forward I was leaning, the cab or the trees outside obscured it. I sat back with the cigarette resting between my lips, puffing. It was quiet. The radio had gone silent. All I could hear was vrr, 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 vrr. A sharp pain shot through my leg. My eyes opened and I was on the shoulder, precipitously close to the guardrail with my cigarette burning a hole through my jeans. I smacked my thigh and my left hand took a hold of the wheel and jerked it sharply to the right. My eyes glanced at the empty road in my rear view. The truck groaned, shifting its weight back over onto the smooth asphalt, past the lane dividers, and into the right lane. I dropped the cigarette, took the wheel, and tried to correct back, but my trailer fishtailed. I felt the nauseating drop in my stomach as I lost control. I heard the crunch of an impact into my truck, the squealing of tires. Then my cab veered headlong down the center drainage ditch. I was tossed back and forth in my seat, held only in place by my seatbelt. The hard edge of something metal was flung from my passenger seat and into my face, splitting my eyelid before my head slammed hard into the headrest and then into the airbag as I came to an abrupt, hissing halt. There was a passing quiet before I heard in the distance the horrible crunching of metal and a quiet, methodical car alarm that screamed out for an eternity before going quiet. I stumbled out of my truck, half blind from the blood freely pouring across my face. The over-horizon moans of vehicles on a distant highway carried over by cold winds were the only sounds to be heard. My boots crunched on the frosted grass as I limped up the embankment to the road. The ground was littered with shattered glass, twisted metal and plastic, a shredded tire, and decomposing leaves. I fell on my side and saw what lay behind. A little red sedan was twisted around a tree in the shape of a magnet. Where had that come from? I wiped the blood from my eye and tried to ease my racing heart. Maybe I wasn't seeing clearly enough from where I sat. I willed myself to my feet and limped toward the wreck. Those idiots were trying to pass me on the right. I had no idea they were there. They were in the wrong. I'd be all right. They shouldn't have been in my blind spot. There was the woman in a red wool sweater hanging from the driver's side window. It was a deep crimson, slick, sleek. I remember it vividly. It couldn't have been anything but a red-dyed sweater, right? It's just about time to see the stars tonight, the radio in the ruined sedan whispered. If you get a chance, take a moment and look. I reached into the cab and turned the car off as smoke began to billow from the non-hood. A puffy jacket was all buckled up and all alone in the passenger seat. I exhaled and looked back at the long empty road ahead of me. The little girl in the yellow dress was standing 10 feet away. She didn't have any shoes on. I wiped my eyes again. Where was her ketchup-colored jacket? She'd be cold. I looked at the red blood across my palm. She raised her hand, reaching for me, trying to stop me. And her bright eyes, they were like stars. I looked up at the black sky, and the stars were brilliant. Swirling colors of light and infinite space, moving alone but at an unknowable pace. Each star like an eye staring down at me, and I stared back long after my own began to water and my knees began to shake, because I knew if I looked down, I would not be able to bear the sight of the little girl as she really was. And I wanted this moment to last an eternity. Okay. Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode, and if you did, please subscribe for more. I would also appreciate it if you give the video a like. This story was extremely well written and extremely hard-hitting, so huge props to the author for writing such an amazing story. If you'd like to support the channel, I would appreciate it if you would check out my Patreon link in the description, or the merch store as well. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at ClancyPasta, and I will see you all later. Have a good night, everybody. Cheers.